Hi everyone. So let's talk permissions today. This episode will be rather lengthy, but I think it teaches you really important piece in your apps because every app needs permissions, right? You need to either define roles or give certain people elevated access to your app. So this is a really important thing to get right, and I will try to do this. So as a starting point, we'll use this great package by Spatie, and I owe them probably 1,000 postcards. Yeah, I need to. I probably need to send them one. But yeah, let's get started. So if we go to the installation page, we just need to follow the steps here. So let's install the package. Okay, now that the package is installed, we need to publish the vendor. And this will basically create a config file and database migrations. So if we do open our database migrations folder, we are able to see this new file. And here, we need to customize a couple of things. First of all, you know how I feel about the default timestamps. So let me just copy my new ones. And this here should also have use current. So we'll just replace that everywhere. Okay, that's it. And we'll also replace the model type with unsigned tiny integer, which is what we use for our relationships. If you want to know why, you can watch previous videos. So yeah, let's look for model type. Okay, model type. Okay, here we have the string. Okay, and I think that's it. So now the migration looks pretty good. We can migrate it. And this will basically create a couple of tables for us, which this package needs to work. And that's it when it comes to the installation. So what this package gives us is basically we can give user roles, and we can also give them permissions, and we can even assign permissions to roles that then will be inherited to the user. So let us create our first permission. And I will start by creating an enum. I will create two actually. So we'll have one, and I will just probably copy one of the existing ones. We'll have one called permission list. I don't love that name, but let's just roll with that. So we'll have permission list and we'll have role list. All right, so here we need to create a couple of permissions, so we can have something to work with. So for example, we may have permission to manage billing or billing manage, and I prefer to name it that way because we can use dots and stuff like that to just group them nicely together. Because then if we had something like billing view, for example, or whatever else, we can have discussion create and stuff like that. We just have like a namespace for our permissions. Let's create discussion delete. So yeah, this This will be just, a couple of example permissions that we use to test our new implementation. And here in the role list, we'll just create a couple of roles for our users. So for example, we may have an admin, we may have, team owner, we may have team member, and then we can create one for the team. So for example, maybe the team needs some elevated access. And we should create one permission for the team as well. So we'll get back to this. But yeah, one role for the team would be, for example, super team or something, which, will have more access to pieces of the app. And here we can create one permission for the team, which would be, users manage. No, that doesn't make sense. So the permission for the team, let's say we have a billing and we are selling an add-on. So maybe this team needs a permission to access that add-on. So we could have something like, Zapier access. And, this would be like a team-wide permission that you can buy or something. All right, so now we'll need to create those permissions. So let's create a new migration. Create permissions and roles. Maybe prefix it with initial. So if we go to that file, and I need to change the stop on migration, but let's do it later. All right, we don't need a migration here as well at all. Like we are not going to create any tables. So let's just remove that. So here we basically want to create a new permission. And the only thing that we need to add is the name, as the documentation states. So let's add a name here. So, we'll just defer to our permission list enum, and we'll just create one permission for, we'll just have to call this for every permission that we have. So in theory, we could have, we'll just enumerate over a list. And we'll just create a permission for each one of them. And then we'll do the same with roles. So let's create these two constants and just list all the permissions. So I will just go to our permission list file and copy all of the names. And let's do the same thing with roles. All right, so here for each of self permissions, and we should probably uppercase that. We'll create one permission, and let's do the same thing for roles. For each self roles. And, we can add a down methods that will remove them. So we can do something like permission where in name self permissions delete. And we can do the same with roles. The important thing after you add roles like that, after you delete them, I'm sorry, because here we are deleting them in bulk, you need to manually forget the cache for the permission package. So we can do this by calling this permission registered. So now we can run our migration. And it seems that our roles and permissions are created. So what this package allows us to do is, we can grab our first user, and now we can assign the role to them. So we can do this by calling the assign role method. But before we do that, and that is important, we need to actually add this trait that this package ships with. So this is called has permissions, and there is one for has roles. And let me just check one thing. Has roles uses has permissions, so we can just remove that. All right, so now if we restart our Tinker and we find our user, we'll be able to assign them a role of, for example, admin, right? And this works. And now, we can check if the user has a certain permission and stuff like that. So that's quite great. The problem with this is, this package won't be able to use our enums, right? And we want to have a strict type system in our application, because then we won't be able to, do something like that, because, we'll never provide a string. So we'll make sure that we always use the proper type, and we could use constants for that, but I find enums to be better to work with, as you can add additional layers of logic that you can stuff into them. So, if we were to defer to our role list and give them the admin role, we would get an error. And that's bad. So in order to ensure that we have the strict type system, we need to extend the base trait that this package ships with. In order to even, allow our enums to be used by this package. So yeah, let's create our trait. So, we can name it has roles. All right, so we'll just use the default trait that this package provides for us. And, it handles all of the hard stuff for us. However, we want to ensure that we are always passing enums. But before we start that, we can do a couple of easy things, right? So for example, we could add a couple of helper functions like isAdmin, isTeam owner, isTeam member. And we had one more, is super team, for example, if you want that. Is super team. So here we would, basically check if this has role, and here, you would pass your role list, and you just have a helper for each one of them. So team owner, team member, and super team. And all of these will, simply return a Boolean. All right, so in order to do that, we could override the default methods that this package provides. So instead of, we'll just create has role, which is an internal permission that we'll just build out. And this will always accept, role list. And we'll just defer to calling this base method. And, that's completely fine. That works great. So now we are exposing this public function name that our, people on our team will be able to use. And we are not going to, override or remove the base implementation. So we probably need to also validate the input, and we can do this inside the has role here, right? So, we probably don't want our, for example, right, we have the team, and this team has, this super team role. We don't want our people on our team to call, is super team on a user. So we need to ensure that the proper role is only assigned to a proper model type, because, this will be used by multiple models. So the way that we can do this is we could add a method here, is applicable to, and here we could pass a model. And here we could pass a match of the model. So as default, we'll return false. However, for if model is instance of user, then, we can return something. And if model is instance of team, we can return something, right? So we just need to create two arrays, basically. So this will be a public static function called, user roles, which will simply return an array of, self-admin, self-team owner, and self-team member. And we'll do the same thing for our team. So we'll have our public static function called team roles. And here we will return self super team. So now what we can do is we can check if this, the first one is needle. Yeah, so if needle is inside user role, and here we can check if this is inside self team roles. And this is applicable to, well, obviously, return a Boolean. So if this role list is not applicable to this, which is a call to our model, then we'll just throw a new exception. And let us see if this even works, because I'm not sure. All right, our user has to use our new trait. So let's import our new trait. Let's restore the tinker, and now we can just find user first, and we can just call is admin. and this will return true because I earlier gave him the permission. And if we call isSuperTeam, ha, that's funny. I didn't have the negation here, but that's still weird that role admin is not applicable to this model. Yeah, I'm dumb. It shouldn't, the model shouldn't be here. It should be just true. So this, like a fancy wraparound conditionals. So either way, now, sorry, let me restart that. So now if we call user first is team owner, it will return false. If we call is admin, it will return true. If we call is super team, it will throw an exception. So that's great. We have our type safety. So now you could add this to as many methods from this as you want. So we could also do this for assign role, right? So you can call it assign role as assign role base. Here we will get our role list. We can extract this to a method. Validate role. Here we'll get the role list. And we can just, call this validate role and then pass the role list. And we can do, the same thing for these two. And can just finish typing that. And, this should work. So now we can call assign role and we can pass up enums role list. Let's start with super team. It will fail. Then for team owner, it will go true. Probably. These are first roles. Yeah, it did. We just need to return those values instead of returning null. So it will just return self. And I can keep going. I mean, we can do the same with scope. We could do the same with anything else here. That's completely up to you. So yeah, that will be it for this episode. In the next episode, we'll also handle permission system, but we'll focus on permissions. And the next one will be really cool because I will explain that in the next episode. So either way, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this this episode, and see you in the next one.